visiting with new Liberty defensive line coach Jeremy Garrett, kind enough to take a few moments here for us. Coach, just your thoughts on the first few days of practice, and then we'll open it up to some questions.
Yep. So first few days of practice, just finding out what guys can do well and what we need to work on, and we're coming in every day with corrections, and I'm really proud of the progress we made these first few practices, and moving forward, we just want to get a little bit better every day and keep moving forward throughout the spring.
Start with John Manson from Sea of Red.
Hey, Coach Garrett.
Hey, John.
Like you said, I'm John, Sea of Red. Just wanted to ask you a question about making your decision to come from the NFL to Liberty. What went into that, and why did you want to take this next challenge?
That's a good question. Really, my relationship with Coach Freeze was important because it's all about who you work with, in my opinion. The job is always hard, but it's about who you with. But coming from the NFL to this opportunity, this was the opportunity to get my own group, work with my own group, and then work with people that I like and enjoy being around, and just get the opportunity to do it at a school like Liberty, where spiritually I can impact my guys as well as on the field. So that all went into that decision. It was a tough decision because I enjoyed the guys I worked with in Cleveland, and it was a really good job in the NFL. But at the end of the day, the opportunity to get my own group and work with Coach Freeze and his staff and be at this university was important to me.
Next to Damian Sordelet, our beat writer from the Lynchburg News and Advance.
Jeremy, we want to piggyback off John's question. And what's been the reception from your group since you've had the face-to-face with them, and just the excitement of getting to work with someone who has experience of understanding what it takes to get to the next level?
It's been awesome, man, working with those guys. They've been great. I think my experience has been important, man. Not only have I worked in the NFL, but I was a high school coach for a long time, and I coached in college at Vanderbilt, and then I had the NFL experience. So as far as knowing where guys are coming from and know where they're trying to go, I've seen it on all three levels. And I think that experience in itself, it doesn't make me a great coach, it just makes me experienced, right? So I have the experience to know which buttons to push and know how to develop those guys and know how to, put that carrot out in front of them to know that they can be this good, that good, show them things from the NFL and things like that, but just hopefully progress them all at whatever level they are. But the guys have been great, receptive to the teaching.
Next to TJ Wilkerson from 90.9 FM, The Light.
Hi, Coach. As spring practice progresses, is there anything that has caught your eye immediately as you step down onto the field?
So, the one thing that's been very different for me is just the tempo of the the college game. In the NFL, the huddle breaks, and I got a little time to coach my guys in between plays, but here is full speed, full tempo, full go, and you got to kind of coach it when you're watching the tape. So that part I'm getting used to as well, but at the end of the day, football is football, technique is technique, and I think our guys are doing a good job of just trying to build each day and play technique and play fast.
Back to Damian.
Jeremy, you inherited a defensive line where the cupboard isn't bare at all. You've got a lot of depth there, a lot of experience too. And what excites you about getting to work with so many talented guys on the line, from either in tackles or edge when you look at Trayshawn Clark, Darrell Johnson, and even Akil Washington when you get a chance to work with him from the bandit position?
Oh, that's awesome, man. I spoke with someone earlier. It's good to come in with a group that's been taught the things, in the run game that I want to teach, right? So it makes a difference when I'm speaking the same language that they had, the past few years. So that's awesome. That's a tribute to Coach Aldridge in recruiting those guys, but also teaching those guys. So that transition is smooth, and that's good for me to go through, and just to have that experience in the room. I just want to bring the other guys along, because in this day and age, you got to play multiple guys, and so I want to develop 8, 9, 10 guys if possible to play in those games. And so it's good to have a good group, a solid foundation, but at the same time I'm trying to build up the new guys and and the freshmen to be able to jump into that rotation and contribute as well.
Jeremy, we talked the other day when you were on our radio show about instilling technique in your guys in the pros and or game planning, I guess, each week to week. How do you think, at this point, maybe you don't know yet, but how do you think it will differ, instilling those things in these guys at this level?
I think these guys are they're getting it. The biggest thing is understanding concepts. If they're in this formation, what are they trying to do to me? If the back is to me, what blocks can I get? The backs in pistol, what's going on? Understanding the lineman stances. So it's really about just understanding the details of the game, and it's up to me to progress that as needed. I don't want to go too fast for these guys. I want to build it one step at a time, and then just build their knowledge of the game and just keep moving forward with that.
And you've mentioned your relationship with Coach Freeze being a key piece as to why you decided to come to Liberty. And he's also spoken highly of you as well. But I was also wondering, what about your relationship with Coach Aldridge and Coach Curtis, the two co-defensive coordinators? Did you have a relationship prior, or are you just getting to know them here over this past couple of months?
I'm just getting to know them over the past couple of months. I've heard of both of them, but never really met them in person. And I can just tell you, just being around those guys, the first 2 weeks, I hit the ground running, recruiting and all of that. But once I got to sit down with them and talk football, those are two really good football coaches, and most important, two really good men. So the values are the same. So to me, it's a smooth transition, an easy fit. Those guys have been great.
Damian, then back to TJ.
Hey, Coach, I wanted to ask you about getting a chance to work with the defensive coordinator who was previously the defensive line coach here, and how has that helped in the transition in terms of verbiage being the same, being able to work with him and he being able to give you tips on, hey, I know how these guys work, I know how they operate, and maybe give you some pointers on how to get the best out of them?
It's awesome, man, because I think the biggest thing of having someone here who coached those guys is, okay, how do I build relationships with each individual? Because they're all different. So when you come in, you have somebody that can kind of give you tips. First of all, I got to go through it myself, but when you kind of have, an idea of, hey, this guy, this is his personality, it's just information that I had that's helpful. And then he and I speaking the same language, that transition is smooth. Because when we install a new defense or something like that, he can relate it to me and say, it's like this. And so, okay, good. All right, so now I understand. And then him being a play caller, like he understands, like being a defensive line coach, all the teaching that goes into each individual call. So I think that's important, him understanding that, and he and I being on the same page. So that whole thing's been great. It's a good fit for both parties.
Sorry about that. I'm sorry. Coach, you're coming in, and you have a great defense that you're just in. One of the few weaknesses they had last year was getting to the quarterback. How do you intend on improving that, sir?
Yeah, it's all about working drills and helping guys understand concepts. So to me, rushing the quarterback is all about the angles on the edge. I call them speed angles and power angles, right? Dictating the offensive line set. That's what we want to do. And in the middle, we want to push the pocket. It's that easy. And sacks are great. We want sacks cause fumbles. But at the same time, I like batted balls. I like pressures. I like the quarterback throwing off his back foot. I just want our guys to affect the game in some way or another. Because he throw a bad ball, we talk about tips and overthrows. And we got to get those. So we talk about that all the time.
So one more thing here. Share a little bit of your background before you got into coaching. You kind of told us that story the other day. Where did that passion come from to want to get into this?
Oh, man, I always had the passion for football when I played at Ole Miss. And when I graduated, for some reason, my dad always instilled in me that I was going to be this big-time banker, right? So I bought into it, got an MBA, started out in the bank, and ended up financing a loan for a high school principal. And he just simply asked, why aren't you coaching young men and impacting their life? And so that hit me differently. I was like, you know what, I should be. So I went on a school visit and just watched them practice at South Haven High School and started coaching with those guys that summer and hadn't looked back. And just the impact that I can have on people's life, to see them grow as young men. Now I coach guys who are playing in the NFL now. I coach guys who are married now. But just to have that relationship, it just makes my life seem like it has a bigger purpose than just being about me. So be able to pour into these guys with the experience that I have and what I've gone through, man, to be able to give back, I think that's awesome. I don't feel like I've had a real job since. I don't feel like I've worked since I started coaching, because it feels like, who I am, not what I do.